Shalom, all praises to YAHAWAH'S. It's your brother Ayathan, back at you with another video. Double honors to the apostles and shalom to the elect out there. Now, as you can see the title here, this is from the New York Post, and the title reads, New York City is dead forever. Now, the author is James Altucher, not sure how you pronounce it, but this guy has received a lot of backlash from celebrities and from radio show hosts or online podcast hosts. And I happened to catch a podcast this morning of one guy. He lives in New York, and he was going through the different reasons why he believes New York City is actually dead. I have the scriptures to back up that New York's actually dead, and you can just look around you. So this is from the New York Post. New York City is dead forever. Now, when New York City dies, you can tell the health of America by how New York City is doing. The reason is because New York City used to be called, I don't hear people calling this anymore, but it used to be called the Empire State or the Empire City. I believe originally, before Washington, D.C., I believe, and you sisters could fact check me, but I believe New York City was the original capital before it was Washington, D.C. But New York was always where the financial district was, and is also the Empire State. As today, this is where the Empire State Building resides. Now, when you look up the word empire, right here, this is Wiki Dictionary. It says from Middle English, empire, from Old Empire or empire, from Latin imperium, to command, control, dominion, sovereignty, a dominion, empire, to command, order, to make ready, order. So as we always say, America is that great city. This is the city, because America is comprised of what? Citizens, which makes America a city. So the whole entire world, or used to be the whole entire world, looked up to New York City. This was a place where the whole world wanted to visit. Tourists, they came here. Anybody outside of the tri-state area, New York is a place to go. That's the land of opportunity, the golden city. And symbolically, New York City was the land of opportunity, because in New York City, you could literally walk down a block and you could trip on an opportunity. You could start a business easily. Anybody could make it in New York City, no matter what you're into. So when New York City is going down, that is the Empire State. This is where this sets the trends for the entire world. You can tell the direction that the world is going in. So let me jump to these different tabs I got here. So this is a photo of Times Square right now. As you can see, it's empty. This is New York City. This is what Times Square normally looks like on a normal given day. But this is what it looks like now. And what does this remind you of? It reminds you of, this is I Am Legend. Now this is I Am Legend. This is after the pandemic hit and I Am Legend. This is what was left of New York City. And as you can see, this is symbolic to what New York City looks like right now. Matter of fact, as I was looking for this photo, there's another photo right next to it, and I don't have it queued up. But this photo was there was a photo that some random person took. It's on Google Images, and they said New York City is starting to look like I Am Legend. And this is while I was searching for an actual footage from I Am Legend. So people are starting to put two and two together. Now, you got a lot of people out there. So the guy that wrote this article, he was receiving a lot of backlash because the argument was like, New York City's been through so much. New York City always comes back. How dare you say that about New York City? So let me bring out some points that I jotted down, and then some personal points about New York City and why New York City is actually dead for good. Okay? So, excuse me. The first thing, as we already established and as everybody knows, New York, that's the financial center of the universe. This is where the opportunities are. If anybody wants to make it, whether you're young tech, whether you have a dream of becoming a entertainer, whether it's on Broadway, hip hop, whether you want to go to one of the prominent or prestige colleges that is here in New York, this is where everybody goes to. You want that dream job, you come to New York. You want that New York City sky-rise life, living in a New York City loft in a penthouse with the view of Manhattan. You can only get that in New York. There's no other place like New York in the entire world. Now, there's a mass exodus out of New York. Everybody's leaving New York. Matter of fact, I'm going to stop myself and let me read a scripture because to set the tone right. So this is Isaiah 24. The whole chapter is bad. Matter of fact, let me see if there's anything I could grab from up top. Yeah, let me start, man. Oh, man. I'm in an interest for time. So you brothers and sisters, read this entire chapter. We're living in these times now. I'm going to jump straight to the 10th verse. It says, the city of confusion is broken down. New York is known as what? New York City. NYC, New York City. And New York City looks broken down right about now. This is normally what it looks like. It's bustling. You can't find space to step because it's normally so packed with people. But this is what it looks like now. Everybody in New York is in a state of confusion, in a state of bewilderness. They don't know what's coming next. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't know what the future is. So everybody's just making a great exodus out of New York City, like never before in history. Now, jumping back to Isaiah 24, the city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up that no man may come in. Now, it doesn't show it here in this photo, but you can go on YouTube and you can find plenty of videos of people driving through New York City and filming, and all the stores are boarded up. They're boarded up. The apartment buildings are shut because everybody's leaving. Everybody's leaving their businesses. Either they got shut out because of the coronavirus and a drop in the economy, or they're straight up leaving, or they're boarding everything up due to rioters and looters. So it says every house is shut up that no man may come in. And soon they're going to shut the borders off. They're in the process of doing that now. Verse 11. There's a crying for wine in the streets. Now the wine represents this knowledge, the truth. There's a crying for wine. Now, my original title for this video, before I found this information, the Spirit hit me, and I might still give it its name, is that all paths lead to one road. And the reason why, what that means is that everything is going to lead to one thing. Everybody is going to want to know the truth. So, you brothers out there, be prepared. When shit hits the fan, there's going to be a flood of people that's going to want to know the truth. And this is when the Lord is going to give us that fame. Right now we're infamous, but pretty soon the scriptures tell you people are going to want answers. They're going to be running to their pastors. They're going to be running to the leaders that have been given to them by the devil. They're bought out by the devil. And these are the so-called black leaders you see on TV with these major platforms. They're not the prophets of the Lord. Matter of fact, what they do is they watch the prophets of the Lord and they plagiarize material, right? Farrakhan is a big one. Here it is, he is a leader of the Nation of Islam, but he's always quoting the scriptures. He's going into prophecies which he can't break down himself. He watches Israelites, and he brings it out because those his followers, they don't sit down and watch GMS. They don't watch these other groups. So when they hear these things, they think Farrakhan is this great prophet bringing out these revelations. Meanwhile, he's stealing all the material, and he's sent by the devil himself. He's not sent by the Most High. So people are going to be going to the pastors, to the leaders, and they're not going to have answers. And they're going to realize that everything the Israelites have been prophesying for the past 20, 30, 40, 50 years is what they're experiencing at the moment. So they're going to go to the Israelites for answers. So there's going to be a flood of people, and many people are going to be turned away. Okay, so let's get back. Verse 11 says there's a crying for wine in the streets, and also everything's shut down. The bars are shut down because wine, people use alcohol and wine to relieve stress, and people are stressed the hell out right now. So they're going to the liquor stores, and I haven't looked the stats up, but I guarantee you, somebody wants to fact check and post it in the comments. I guarantee you, just as the gun sales are going up, I guarantee you the sale of alcohol and liquor has gone through the roof because people are looking for a relief, a stress release, an escape from reality. So it says a crying for wine in the streets. There's a crying for wine in the streets. People want to know what the truth is. All joy is darkened. I mean, there's no more happy hour. I don't hear anybody talking about we're going to go to happy hour today or tomorrow. That's done. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. Yeah, people go to New York City to party. New York City is known as the land for partying, especially for the alphabet people. This is where they go to party. They got all the LGBT clubs, and the opportunity for them is done. This is where people go to fulfill their dreams of becoming a movie star. They'll go to Hollywood, or they'll go to New York to become an entertainer, Broadway, to open up businesses, to have a high position in a tech giant, a company that's a tech giant, or a company that's a top company in a financial district, to be a stockbroker, all of that. All that's done. You got people that dropped everything and moved to New York on their last penny, their last dime, to seek opportunities. That's dead. So there's nothing but crying in the streets right now. In the streets, people are getting shot. People are rioting. People are rioting. Businesses are being looted. Houses are being boarded up and shut down, just as we read in the scriptures. Verse 13, when thus it shall be in the midst of the land among the people, there shall be as a shaking of an olive tree, and as a gleaning grapes when the vintage is done. And this is going to come soon. This is going into the destruction, the nuclear destruction, and all of that. So we're building up to those times. And you can see this, the Most High setting the stage. Right? So there was a Facebook group that was formed not too long ago for people that are looking for advice to move out of New York. From what I hear, within a matter of 2-3 days, that Facebook group grew to tens of thousands of people that joined looking for advice. So that shows you the state that New York is in right now. I mean, the financial center is dead. The office buildings are empty. Everybody is working remotely, which means, from what I understand, less taxes that these companies have to pay for the government, right? Nobody's visiting New York anymore. So the money from tourism is dead. Deficits are going up because of the virus, and nobody's getting paid. People are losing their jobs. Matter of fact, from what I hear, August 31st, which is a few days from now, I believe that's this Sunday, that New York City is going to hand out a bunch of pink slips to its essential workers, right? And the scriptures tell you that people shall rise up at the sound of the grinding. They're going to rise up looking for jobs, and that the grinding in the streets shall cease. Okay? So there's not going to be any jobs. The state is not getting paid. Nobody's coming to visit. because everything's shut down, or they can't. There's no museums, there's no zoos or any of that stuff they could come visit. So this is the perfect recipe for bankruptcy, you know? And that's why the scriptures say that the keepers of the house, they're going to mourn. And these are the stockbrokers, the financial analysts. Right now, they're declaring they've seen a dark future for America. And like I said, all you got to do is look at the state of New York City. That is the Empire State. That is a financial center of the world. Right? So the office buildings are dead. Everybody's doing remote. Everybody's using Zoom. If you brothers and sisters don't know what Zoom is a application, an app you can download on your phone or you can install it on your computer. And this allows people to do conference calls and virtual meetings with each other. So they don't need to be in the office anymore. All you need is a webcam or your phone with a camera on it, and you could conduct business as usual. So companies are realizing, hey, we don't need people in the office. They can stay at home. We don't have to pay for light bills. We don't have to pay for food. We don't have to pay for heat. We don't have to pay for AC. So people's bills are going up now at home. I mean, Esau, the Most High gave them, the Most High is inspiring them. That's Psalms, the 21st chapter. The Most High controls the heart or the minds of the kings. He's telling them what to do. Man, this is a perfect, I call this a Molotov cocktail. This is a Molotov cocktail that's being formed right now. That's just ready to get thrown and lit, and the whole place glows ablaze. The perfect recipe forming right in front of our eyes. And we've been prophesying about this stuff for years. So now the reason I mentioned the people working remotely and the Zoom meetings, because Zoom is audio and video. So Zoom is basically like streaming in high definition, 4K video. So that's using up a shit ton of bandwidth. So you can see another reason why they've been pushing the 5G so quickly. During the first wave, they've been secretly pushing 5G out there. Matter of fact, I did a video months ago, which is on the old channel, the original GMS on air, which Lord willing, I got to check maybe this month or next month we can start using that channel again. But I did a video and I was showing construction workers, cable companies that were installing the 5G towers underneath the asphalt and above in the telephone lines. So you can see this whole thing has been set up. So the 5G has been set up not only for the RFID microchip and those reasons, but also because they planned that people will be working remotely from home, and they're going to need something that can handle the huge amount of bandwidth that's going to be going on, right? So as I said, August 31st, they're going to let go a bunch of essential and critical workers. So that means when a second wave comes, who's going to be there to help these people out? All the essential workers, a lot of them are going to be laid off. And they were already understaffed from the first wave. And this second wave is supposed to freeze America, from what they're saying. It's supposed to freeze and put everything on hold. America's going to come to a stop because of this second wave. And there aren't going to be essential workers out there because they're about to fire them all. And they're going to fire police officers, talking about defunding the police. On top of that, there's a huge exodus out of New York City. Usually in June and July is when New York City makes the most money from rentals. People moving in. Some people might be moving out, but usually people moving in. June, July is when most people are moving in and out of Manhattan. Okay, that's the best opportunities for real estate. But because of this pandemic in 2020, it's the worst in history. Everybody's leaving New York. Matter of fact, from what I'm hearing, different podcasts and information I've been reading, that there's people in Miami, in Idaho, Wyoming, a bunch of other states, that they're saying that there's a mass exodus of people leaving New York and moving into those states. Matter of fact, in Miami, people are buying properties. Now, Miami is expensive already, but it's super expensive living in Manhattan. So people are going to Miami and they're paying 50% more than the asking price for different houses. People are moving over into Idaho and Wyoming, and they're they're purchasing houses without even looking at the houses. It's a term they have called sight unseen. So what these people are doing is they're calling a real estate agent. The real estate agent will go to the property. They'll turn on Zoom, that I was just talking about, and they'll do a little walk through the house, and the person will be like, "All right, we're gonna buy it." And this is that. I mean, that's a super duper desperate move. And if you remember, many of the CEOs resigned and they fled America. Okay. Now check this out. I got a couple scriptures here. Now, one thing you got to remember, when we read some of these scriptures, we're going to read about curses that the Most High put on Israel, like in Lamentation, right? Lamentations is talking about atrocities that happened to Israel, things that Israel went through. So the Most High, because of Israel's sins, he cursed Israel, cursed the land of Israel, and kicked Judah and kicked Israel, the 10 tribes and the 3 tribes, Judah, Benjamin, Levi. The Most High got rid of all of them out of the land of Israel and cursed the entire nation because of the wrongdoings against the Most High. Okay? So when you read the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, the Lord says that, look, if you follow verse 14, 15 in that area, the Lord said if Israel follows the law, statutes, and commandments, that the curses that were put on us, he would put them on our enemies. So because Israel forfeited the covenant and broke the law, statutes, commandments, the curses came upon us, which you can read in the book of Deuteronomy. You can start from 15 on down all the way to 68. But now the curses are going to fall upon the enemies. So when you read about the curses that fell on Israel, you can apply them to Esau because of the same curses he's going to follow. Matter of fact, let me bring out, is it Isaiah? Isaiah 40, the 40th chapter. Let me start at 1. It says, comfort ye, my people, saith your power, Yahawah Ba'ashim Yahushai. Okay? Talking about to you so-called minorities, from you so-called what they call African Americans all the way down to you so-called Mexicans, you Latino tribes, also you indigenous tribes, you Seminole Indians, so-called American Indians, so-called Seminole Indians. The Lord says, speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem and cry unto her. And this is what we do in the streets. That her warfare is accomplished. So everything is coming to a head right now because our prison sentence, the time of our curses is just about up, and there's going to be a transfer to Esau and the other nations. Now they're going to face the curses. And Israel is going to be into a state of rulership forever, infinity. That's in the book of Daniel 7 and 25. So speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem and cry unto her that her warfare is accomplished, that her iniquity is pardoned, for she has received of the Lord's hand double for all her sins. Okay? So Israel, our warfare is accomplished. We're coming to that point where the curses that the Most High put us through is done. Those curses are going to be transferred to Esau and the other nations. Okay, so I'm going to jump back to Lamentations. So this is one of the curses that fell upon Israel that you see happening right in front of us right now. It says, how doth the city sit solitarily? That was full of people. How has she become as a widow? Remember these images. It was full of people. How has she become as a widow? It's empty. How doth the city sit solitary, that was full of people. How would she become as a widow? She that was great among the nations and princess among the provinces, how would she become tributary? And what did we say earlier in the beginning of this lesson? This was the land opportunity where the whole world wanted to come to. And I've been reading on different comments mainly on YouTube and other platforms with these different police shootings and the martial law and Jay getting shot in the streets, I've been reading comments with people saying, hey, I don't want to come to America anymore. It was my dream to come to America. I don't want to come to this place anymore. Verse 2, she weepeth sore in the night, and her tears are on her cheeks. Among all her lovers, she has none to comfort her. Where's all the bailouts from the different nations to help America? There is none. These other nations, they don't give a two shits about, they don't give a squirt of piss about America. America is just a cash cow for them. It says all her friends have dealt treacherously with her. They have become her enemies, right? Now, if you paying attention to what's going on in the Middle East right now, there's war brewing in the Middle East. NATO is turning against America. Okay? So, yeah, Manhattan is pretty much empty. The stores are broken up. Boarded up. This has never happened before in the history of America. You know, people say New York City will bounce back, has been through this before. No, New York City has never been through this situation before. It has never been locked down going over 5 months in history. No matter how many wars, America has been through a shit ton of wars. America has been through a shit ton of pandemics. America has been through a shit ton of financial crises. There was a huge polio pandemic. Okay, America has a history of a huge polio pandemic. They never shut down America. New York was always a place for young techs, and for people to go to for opportunity and financial opportunities. Nobody's coming here anymore. Okay, this place is done. Isaiah 32, it says, let me see, it could go up a little bit. Yeah, let's go to 11, all right? Tremble, ye women that are at ease, be troubled, ye careless ones, strip you and make you bare, and gird sackcloth upon your loins. Excuse me. Women are easily fooled. They're like the wind, man. They're like tumbleweed. Whichever way the wind blows, that's the direction they goes. They have no sense of urgency. They have no sense of danger. So here it is not too long ago, these women were in a totally different spirit because the pandemic was hot and heavy and they were seeing everything on the news that was going on and the rioting. These women had a totally different spirit, and women were realizing that their beauty doesn't mean shit. The beauty of a woman and her games and shaking her ass and this and that, it only works in a time of peace when nobody has no worries and all there is to worry about is getting a piece of ass. But when shit hits the fan and nobody gives a shit, everybody's in a total different spirit, they're in survival mode, nobody gives a shit about women. Women become a liability. Women become you're like an anchor on a boat to have a woman around, okay? Because you don't know how to survive. Many of y'all don't even know how to cook or cook a decent meal. And I'm not talking about a 5-minute microwave dinner or some macaroni and cheese in a box. I'm talking about make a fire and cook meat, clean meat, season it and cook it. Y'all don't know how to do that, okay? So the only thing these days a man has to look to you for is for sex and maybe for looks. If he's bored, a man is on his shit. He only needs you for sex and for something nice to look at. But when the supermarkets are closed and the hair salons are closed and you can't get your nails done and your looks fade within a matter of a day, you can't put that makeup on to cover all them zits on your face like them Instagram models. If you see what they really look like, oh my goodness, is like night and day. All right. So when women, you can't put out that makeup, because that's all it is makeup. It's a mask. Like everybody's wearing a mask right now. Women been wearing masks. It's called makeup. Once you can't put on that mask anymore and everybody sees you for what you are, all right, and they realize you're useless, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You can't cook. All you have to rely on is your looks. And, you're over here now. You got Megan Thee Stallion. And what's that other bitch? Nicki Minaj. Not Nicki Minaj. What's the other one? Cardi B. Now, there's a whole thing about them. They made this video, WAP. Whole controversy around that. The reason why that's so hot in the news is because people think everything is cool right now. If they came out with that video last month or 2 months ago, it would be dead in the water because everybody was focusing on survival. And we're going to go back to that mode 100 times fold. So I really don't know what you women, you careless women that are at ease, I really don't know what you're going to do. Don't run over here. I'm going to tell you that. That's not going to work. Don't run in this direction. Run the opposite direction. All right? Do what y'all been doing. Run in the opposite direction from all the dudes that have been trying to get with you. Just keep doing that. Verse 12, it says, they shall lament for the teats, for the pleasant fields. Yeah, being able to make a rap video about wet-ass vagina, wet-ass pussy, and gaining fame off of that. That's teats. That's a luxury to be able to do that. Talk about some bullshit and cash in on that and be a celebrity and have women back you up. Oh, she's liberal. She's exercising her freedom. Okay. Yeah. Well, let's wait till the winter time. It says they lament for the teats, for the pleasant fields, for the fruitful vine. Okay, that's these jobs. That's the economy. The economy is a fruitful vine. Verse 13, upon the land of my people shall come up thorns and briars, yea, upon all the houses of joy in a joyous city. Okay? And yes, talking about this. Oops, excuse me. Where is it? Here we go. It's talking about this, thorns and briars, but also symbolically. The thorns and briars meaning opportunities. The Most High is going to choke all the opportunities around you. He's going to choke it all away. Thorns and briars, that's what they do. They choke life. Okay? Slack it. Let me go back to where I was at. Upon the land of my people shall come up thorns and briars, yea, upon all the houses of joy in a joyous city. Verse 14, because the palaces shall be forsaken, the multitude of the cities shall be left, the forts and towers shall be for dens forever, a joy of wild asses, a pasture of flocks. Now this is really talking about the after the destruction. But you can see this happening right now. You can see the stage being set in sprinkles. You can see the palaces being forsaken. The multitude of the cities shall be left. People are leaving in mass exodus out of here. Verse 15. Until the Spirit be poured upon us from on high, and the wilderness be a fruitful field, and the fruitful field be counted for forest. And, this is going into the blessings that we're going to now get into the kingdom of heaven. So anyway, brothers and sisters, I hope this is edifying. Excuse me, and with that, I'm going to say all praises to Yahawah Ba'Shem Yahawashi. Shalom.